Anyway, we're going to break it down. But first, I want to take a few minutes and talk about all the shit going on with Cain Velasquez. And before we hop into the actual story, I just have to preface this by saying, like, Cain Velasquez, when he was in his prime and when he was healthy, was probably the baddest motherfucker that's ever walked planet Earth. One of them. I mean, he was a incredibly gifted martial artist, and probably, like I said, probably the greatest heavyweight of all time when he was in his prime and when he was healthy. I think injuries and a lot of overtraining and stuff led to him not being able to ever kind of accomplish what he was capable of. But I think that a prime Cain Velasquez runs through Francis Ngannou. Like, what happened in their actual fight, I don't think it plays out that way if Cain's in his prime. You know what I mean? But anyway, besides the point. Well, kind of. Because my point with that kind of is just that, like, Cain is one of the most important historical figures in UFC heavyweight history, right? And his name comes out in this, and you don't hear a lot about him. Like, outside of fighting when he's active, you don't really see a lot of headlines rolling in about Cain Velasquez. He's not really getting in trouble for shit. He's not really doing this or that. And it rolls in and said, I think the initial headline was that he was, like, being accused of attempted murder. And he had shot this guy. And then over the next couple of days, more details start to come out about the case, right? And you find out that he was driving a Ford F-250, crashed it into the Chevy Silverado, pursued it, fired some rounds at the Silverado while they were driving, and one of the rounds struck one of three people who were in the Silverado, right? And then more details start to come out about, okay, who are these people? Well, the guy that he hit with the bullet was Paul Bender, right? The guy that he shot and actually hit. The other two people in the car, one, her name was Patricia Galarte or Galart. I'm going to go with Galart. I don't know. Galart. Patricia Galart. And her son, Harry Galart, who's 43 years old. So you know this Patricia lady's probably a little bit older. And Paul Bender, who got shot, is the husband of Patricia and the stepfather of Harry, right? Now, more details start coming out, and you start finding out, all right, what would the motive be for him to be hitting this fucking car? You find out that Cain Velasquez had hired Patricia Galart to provide daycare assistance to one of his relatives, right? Under 14 years old. That's what a juvenile, right? And during that time, when she was providing the daycare service, Harry Galart, the 43-year-old son, had molested the relative of Cain Velasquez up to 100 times, supposedly. And he had gone through like legal procedures for it, and he was out on bail. And it kind of seems, without knowing any other context at all, right? Like, this has got to be, I would assume, a son or daughter, I would guess, for it to be this, for him to have this sort of rage and for it to be this motivated. Maybe niece, nephew, I don't know, just somebody he's very close to, but I would guess son or daughter. And I would also, it just kind of seems like, and there's a video that you guys can watch on MMAJunkie.com of the chase. Like, there's a piece of the chase on there. And the Silverado is all caved in on the right-hand side. There's like, it looks like there's bullet holes in it. And Cain's pursuing them in this F-250. This like black F-250. And I don't know, it was crazy to hear about. And the more details kept coming out about it, the crazier it got. And I think, man, it's such a tough situation. Like, I think it's impossible when you start hearing about all that not to sympathize with Cain Velasquez and think like, man, you see all the people saying like free Cain and stuff. Like, what he was doing, I can understand that. And I do think that there is this sort of justification for that. Like, what do you do with people like that in the world? And you feel like that I don't know. I'm not saying that it should be okay to, I guess, just take the law into your own hands and murder somebody, right? Like, attempt to do that. But I am saying that I don't even have kids, and I can understand where the want to do that would come from, right? And Dana White said it perfectly when he was like, everybody talks about what they would do if that happened to their kid, and Cain Velasquez did it. But the unfortunate part about him actually acting on it and doing what he did was that he endangered two other people that were potentially innocent, and he actually did injure one person who, at least as far as we know right now, right, like is innocent. Like, unless, that's why it kind of seems like what happened is like, if I'm making assumptions here, knowing nothing, but it seems like he probably saw the fucking truck, knew it was him, and rammed the side of it and just chased it down, not even thinking about who else would be in the vehicle. That seems the most likely candidate, right? Like, he was just kind of possessed by rage and like ran this person down, and I don't know, just kind of like acted on whatever anger he was feeling, right? It doesn't feel like he took into consideration that the other two people were there. If he did, he probably did it because he felt like they were enabling the situation or involved in it in some way, I would imagine, right? Like if he knowingly did it, but I doubt that's the case. So, unfortunately, Cain is now going to have to face all of these legal repercussions, and that's going to further hurt his family as well. Like, these situations, it did not make the situation easier on his family. And he's going to have to go through all this stuff, and if he is accused of attempted murder, it could be like 20 years to life in jail. I mean, he's going to have to go through the ringer and get all this shit sorted out now, and it's a shame that it's come down to this. And but I think that for a lot of people, Cain kind of represents what you'd think you'd like to do if that were to happen to somebody, you know what I mean, that you love. So, I don't know, a pretty wild situation, but man, it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out in court. I'm sure it'll be well documented and something that we'll have to keep up with, but damn.